Hey everybody, welcome back to Star Flag Media Gaming. Let's start with the short-term play. It's going to be everything that we know about the upcoming PlayStation 6 portable, and not just that, but for a lot of people, the PlayStation Portal was important. So let's get right into it. With the PlayStation Portal, it felt like Sony showing up late to a handheld party and bringing the wrong snacks, but there it was. The Steam Deck had already proven there was a real demand for portable gaming that actually runs games and not just streams them. So when Sony drops this remote play glorified Wii U gamepad, the reaction was mixed. But here's the thing, behind the scenes, the Portal sold better, I guess, than Sony expected. Apparently, because we're starting to hear rumors that Sony is quietly setting the stage to revamp it and come out with two types of handhelds: a refreshed PlayStation Portal and a full blown PlayStation 6 portable system hybrid dock. Boy, does that sound familiar. Oh, yeah, it's the Nintendo Switch 2. Once again, proving Sony copies what Nintendo does. But nonetheless, let's break down what's leaked, what's credible, and what this means for Sony and next generation. Let's start with the short-term play. According to Kepler2, over, I believe, on NeoGAF, who has a very solid track record when it comes to AMD and console-related leaks, Sony is planning an updated PlayStation Portal for 2026. The biggest upgrade, of course, being the screen. This isn't a new system, it's just a refinement. The new Portal is rumored to swap out the current LCD screen for an OLED display, which would instantly fix one of the most common complaints that people had about the original unit, which would be better contrast, deeper blacks, better color, and generally just a more premium feel. Now, that lines up perfectly with why Sony would do this in the first place. The Portal seems to have gotten past the internal sales expectations. It definitely didn't dominate the market and didn't do even Steam Deck numbers, or definitely not Switch 2 numbers, but enough to prove that people might actually buy a PlayStation branded handheld thingy if it's limited. Other rumored upgrades are more incremental, but still pretty meaningful. Things like improved speakers, potentially a higher refresh rate display, and better wireless performance with Wi-Fi 7 keeps coming up in discussions, though that still seems very speculative. What's important here is what isn't changing, and this is still just a streaming focused device. It's remote play, cloud gaming at best if you have a Wi-Fi connection, and the PlayStation ecosystem first, no native game installs, and 100% no offline play. Think of this as less a new category and more like Sony turning the Portal into a premium accessory instead of just a curiosity. And I guess that matters because it's going to lead into the real story. And the real deal is the PlayStation 6 portable. And this, to me, is where things get interesting. So, we all know the PlayStation Portable, the original one, the PSP, it sold 70 million units. Now imagine selling 70 million units and still being so far behind the competition. The Nintendo DS sold twice as much. But 70 million units was respectable. And of course, then they tried their hand with the PlayStation Vita, and well, that kind of flopped. But multiple insiders, including Bloomberg, are reporting that longtime hardware leakers like Moore's Law is dead are pointing to Sony working on a true standalone handheld that's meant to live alongside the PlayStation 6. Now, this is not a Portal replacement. This is the spiritual successor to the PSP and the Vita. Internally, the system is rumored to be codenamed Canis, and it's expected to use a custom AMD APU built on RDNA graphics paired with a Zen 6 CPU. Now, that alone tells you that Sony is serious. RDNA 5 isn't a minor revision, it's AMD's next major graphics leap. And Sony designing a handheld around it suggests that this device is being planned from the ground up to run games natively. Now, power wise, the handheld is rumored to operate around 15 watts in portable mode, which puts it right in Steam Deck territory. That's also more or less where Nintendo is. And speaking of Nintendo, there's also talk of a docked mode that boosts the clock internally for TV play. Surprise, similar to what Nintendo does, but this time with more headroom. Now let's talk performance, because this is where expectations need to start getting realistic. The leak suggests that fewer than 40 compute units are possible and as low as 16 CUs. And this might sound small, but RDNA 5 is very efficient, and combined with the lower resolution targets, it means this thing doesn't need to really like match a PS5 to be useful, especially with Sony saying that they're going to be using all of this AI upscaling. And Sony isn't trying brute force console power into a handheld. Hell, it seems like the PS6 is going to be taking a page out of the Switch 2 and just upscaling its native resolution. They're pretty much looking at this thing and trying to make it compatible to PlayStation, the ecosystem, and not really just a portable PS5. Now, the game compatibility strategy that they have going forward is arguably the smartest part of this leak. According to insiders, the PS6 Portable, that's what I'm calling it for now, is expected to run PlayStation 4 games natively with full compatibility. Now, that alone is huge, considering the PS4 library is massive. It's proven and already optimized across a wide range of performance profiles. And frankly, if they keep porting these PlayStation 4 caliber games over to it, it means you're just going to get a huge catalog if you have a Switch 2 or a Steam Deck. Now, PS5 games, that's where things get more interesting. Sony has reportedly been asking developers to test a new low power mode on the existing PS5 with the existing PS5 titles. And we've already seen quiet updates hit games like Demon's Souls Remake, cutting memory usage dramatically. Guys, that's not random. That's Sony's way of laying the groundwork for PS5 games that can scale down cleanly to a handheld hardware without breaking. As for PlayStation 6 games, well, the expectation is that the portable will play lower resolution or lower fidelity versions, acting as like a companion system rather than a replacement. Think Switch logic, but with PlayStation's back catalog and their engine behind it. Right now, the most credible launch window for this thing is pointing towards next year, 2027, which would be lining up with the rumored PlayStation 6. Not years after. They're talking about together, not way down the road, a near simultaneous release that positions the handheld as part of the platform and not a side experiment. Pricing is expected to land somewhere between $399 and $499 for this thing, which is aggressive, but necessary if Sony wants to compete with Steam Deck, Asus, and whatever Nintendo is cooking next. Personally, I don't see this thing coming out for less than $499. It's just these prices with components and all that. It's crazy right now. So $499 I think is the baseline. Hell, the Switch 2 is $450 and it's considerably less powerful according to these leaks. But Sony knows, hopefully they know, that they can't price this thing like a luxury accessory, right? This has to feel like a real console choice. So why does this actually make sense? Well, on the surface, Sony's jumping back into handhelds. And while that might feel risky, when you look at the market, it's there. It's the opposite. PC hardware prices are climbing. GPUs, well, they aren't getting any cheaper. Building or upgrading a gaming PC is becoming harder. And at the same time, portable gaming is growing because it offers fixed costs, predictable performance, and convenience. Valve proved the demand exists. Sony already owns one of the strongest game libraries in the industry. The Portal was a test balloon, the PlayStation 6 portable looks like a real launch. Not to mention, Nintendo is dominating Japan. I mean, dominating Sony in Japan, and they know they need a portable in that market. So, where does that leave us? Well, in the short term, expect a PlayStation Portal OLED at the very least. It's going to feel more premium, but stays true to its streaming roots. For me, that thing is pointless. But hey, maybe for you, if you went and purchased a PlayStation Portal, leave me a comment and let me know. Will you upgrade? In the long term, expect Sony to re-enter the handheld space properly. Hopefully they don't abandon it like they did the Vita. This time, they're going to have a device that plays real games, fits into a PS6 ecosystem, and it doesn't ask players to choose between power or portability. And even if half of these leaks pan out, this could be Sony's smartest hardware move in years. And honestly, it's about time. Thank you guys for joining me here. As always, we will catch you guys in the next video. Please like, share, leave a comment. Peace.